All right, I want to start off by saying Ka Halayim, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakadash. And I want to give double honors to the great millstone, elder apostles, bishops, prophets, and teachers that are teaching me this gospel and that are teaching many others and that have taught me many things about this gospel that I'm starting to learn now. Okay? And a big shalom to all the Akim out there that believe in this gospel and that are coming in the name of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Mashiach. All right, I'm going to read right here the vision of the valley of dry bones. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, they were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. So it's talking about bones, right? And when we say bones, this is what comes to mind, right? For many people, right? This is what they think about. They think about these bones here, right? But that's not what it's talking about. We're going to see what it's talking about. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Yahweh, our power, thou knowest. And he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, our power, unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied there was noise, and behold a shaking, and these bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then he said, then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, and prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith Yahweh, our power, come from the four winds, O breath and breath, Salakia, O breath, breathe, Salakia, sorry about that, O breath and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Right, so the dry bones, who are the dry bones? The dry bones are you Israelites. The you Israelites that lack knowledge, you know, that you don't want to learn this gospel. You don't care to hear about it. The prophets are telling you who your power is, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, and you walk past them. You don't hearken to the word. You believe in the wrong, in idol worship. You're not about this gospel. You don't know Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Okay, that's talking about you guys. You guys are lacking understanding. You guys lack knowledge. And the breath is the Holy Spirit. So Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai is putting breath in some Akim out here, right? The Akim is waking up, right? And he's putting breath, right, into us, which is living waters, okay? So we don't want to be those dry bones. That's what it's about. Let's go to John 7:38. John 7:38. He that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Yeah, we want those living waters. We don't want to be those dry bones because we're seeking to be redeemed, to be saved, to be delivered from what's coming. Okay? And this one goes for the congregation of the dead, the ones that don't believe in this gospel. They lack understanding. They don't want to learn it. They think that they can be saved being a lone wolf. When we tell you, Ox, hey, you guys should join the channel, the church channel. You guys should grow your beard, things of that nature. And you don't want to follow after the men of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, then you're not about this understanding. So let's read it. Proverbs 21:16 KJV. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So yeah, that goes for you guys that are not really hearkening to this gospel, you know? Okay. Jeremiah 3:15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. All right, and this is a beautiful thing, you know, because he's giving us pastors, you know. And I ran into these pastors. I ran into great Achium, you know. And it says that they shall feed you with knowledge and understanding, and that's what they do, you know. The great millstone feeds 24/7 this gospel. You know, we're spread out throughout the four corners of the earth, and they feed us with knowledge and understanding. You know, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, you know, he sends us these tools, you know, for our salvation, right? Because we want to be redeemed, right? Let's go to and this one right here, this one, Isaiah 58:1. This one talks about the brothers, the Akim, you know, that are out there on the street corners, you know, the prophets, you know, and they're out there crying out loud, you know, and they're raising up their voice like a trumpet, right? So it says right here is Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. Right? They're not being soft spoken like you're a pork eating chop pastor that eats pork. You know, these men, these are the real men of the Lord, the great millstone. They're letting you know what's up. You know, they're telling you the gospel, and they're crying out loud with a voice. It can be an angry voice, you know, but they're spreading the message. They're giving you the message. And you pass by them and you see the sign and you see yourself on that sign and you just walk past them. You know, some of you Jakes will pass by the sign and you guys don't get excited. But that's because Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai put the spirit in you not to listen, you know, not to hear the word, you know, to be in that state of not believing, you know, and that's why you see the sign and you don't get happy about it, you know. Shit, I saw the sign, I got happy. I was like, oh man, that's a beautiful thing, you know. I'm on that sign. Kahalayam Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. That made me so happy. So yeah, okay. Now let's go to the next one. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And after Revelation 11:9, we're going to go to Revelation 11:10. And those who dwell on the earth will gloat over them, and will celebrate and send one another gifts, because these two prophets had tormented them. All right, and who are those two prophets? The house of Judah and the house of Ephraim, right? They're tormented because, look, they like to see us on the bottom. You know, they don't want to see us succeed. They don't want to see us on top. They want to see us on the bottom, right? But like the scriptures say, what's first will be last, and what's last is going to be first, right? So that's where they want to see us at. But now that we have awoken and we know who our power is, now they're being tormented, you know, because they don't want to see us on top, you know. And this, it's a blessing, you know, to be Jacob's seed, you know. We'll leave it like that, you know, because now that we know who we are, we know that once that number gets sealed, those 144,000, it's going to be a wrap, you know. And we're measuring the times diligently, you know, and we're in the end days, we're in Revelations, you know, and we're seeing these earthquakes pop off. You know, we're seeing rumors of wars, and we're seeing wars actually now. We're seeing countries against countries. You know, we're seeing plagues pop off too. There's plagues and sickness. You know, you got these devils tampering with our food, putting bioengineered ingredients. You know, we're seeing all these things happen, all this calamity, you know, so it's exciting because it's a sign, you know, and we're measuring the times diligently. We know that, you know, Yahweh Shai is going to return soon in that big ass cloud, that big, huge fathership chariot. And we hope to be redeemed and delivered and saved, That's what we hope for. And that's why this gospel torments these other nations, these heathen nations, because they go, oh man, those are God's chosen people, you know? So, we got the golden ticket, you know? And not to say, because there's also other nations that look like the heathen nations, like they're the speckled jakes, you know? And they're spread out throughout the four corners of the earth, because we got brothers, we got Achium in Holland, we got Achium in other parts of the world, that they're watching videos and they're going back to Jacob. They go back to Jacob's seed, But the vast majority of the bulk of the nation of Israel are here in the Americas. And this is the bulk right here. From Judah all the way down to Issachar. Okay? Judah, Benjamin, Levi being the southern kingdom, so-called Negroes, and then from Simeon all the way down to Issachar. Okay? And the northern kingdom, the so-called indigenous / Hispanics, they came first, where no man dwelt, and which is basically, they called it Arshareth in the Holy Bible, but that's actually basically it's Americas, the Americas, okay? North America, Central America, South America, and the islands like Puerto Rico, Cuba. Okay, but we had some Levites come with us. Okay, that's why some of the Haitians came along with us. That's why you got Haiti, the island of Haiti down there too. They came with us first, and some of them stayed with the Southern Kingdom. Okay, so that's why when you go to Haiti, you see a lot of them that look like a Judite. You go to Puerto Rico, you'll see people that look, they actually look like Judites too, because we're all intermingled like a speckled bird. We come in different shades. And spirituality wise, we can identify, with a tribe by a characteristic, by our father's lineage. But in the end, we're gonna really find out what tribe we are once we get sealed and Yahweh Shai gives us our crown. If we are of that number, we're hoping to be of that hopeful elect, and we'll find there, we're gonna find out, because we might think we're a Issacharite, and we never know. We might be a Zebulon, or we might be a Gadite. You know what I mean? It's gonna boil down to, once we get sealed and we get redeemed in that huge chariot, that huge, once we get, because basically we're gonna have smaller chariots, right, that are gonna come pick us up. They're gonna save us. We're gonna get beamed up into a chariot. We're gonna get new bodies. Okay. Right now we have terrestrial bodies. We're gonna have celestial bodies, immortal bodies, and then we're gonna be sent to the Fathership. While the lake of fire is ignited here, it's gonna be a huge lake of fire, because these nations are gonna throw ICBMs. But not only that, you're gonna also have the chariots of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, because that's our military force, and they're gonna be shooting lasers of fire. And you 2/3 that don't believe in this gospel, that's where you guys are gonna end up, in the congregation of the dead. Okay. Proverbs 21:16, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Okay. Because you guys don't listen. You guys are stiff-necked. You guys are hard-headed. All right. So let's go to, let's read this one again. Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. So I'm going to play the video, okay? And that's what these great millstone prophets are doing. They're crying out loud. They're lifting up their voice like a trumpet. They're here to preach. They're not like your pork-eating pastor or your idol worshiper priest. Okay? All right, let's play the video.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is gathering his elect from all four corners of the planet, bringing together once again in unity. Shalom.
For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech and of an hard language, but to the house of Israel. We send right to you niggas and lands, but we speak the same thing you speak. And you can't say that Spanish, no English, no English,
whites, man. Porque andan con los negros, man. You fucking idiot, man. Por eso el Señor te va a matar, man. Por no saber que somos hermanos y quieres hablar esa mierda. Que el hombre negro no es nuestro hermano, man. Un hombre negro es tu salvador, man. Pinche idiota, por eso necesita muerte, man.
So-called black people, so-called Puerto Ricans, Hispanic, and the Native American Indian people that are waking up to the fact that they're Israelites. So it's starting to expand and become big.
I'm gonna pause it right there, okay? So you see that? You got the tribes coming together. Now let me go back to Ezekiel. We're gonna go to the reunion of Judah and Israel. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, right? So it's talking about the southern kingdom, Judah, and the children of Israel, the northern kingdom, right? And his companions, and take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. Okay, here we go. So the Judah, right? The Judah is the so-called Negroes, right? And then you got the stick of Ephraim, right? The two sticks, right? Which Joseph also refers to the stick of Ephraim. And for all the house of Israel, his companions. So it's talking about this right here. You know? You see that? You see Judah and you see Ephraim. It's coming together as one stick. We're uniting. You know, with the nation of Israel is uniting again. Okay? Now let's go to this one. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh, our power, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is the hand of Ephraim. You see that? And the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks wherein thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And I say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh, our power, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. Right? And it's talking about, okay, their own land. So what's our land? Because we came from over there. We came from the Middle East. We made those pyramids over there that line up with Mexican pyramids, you know? We made the pyramids in the Middle East, and they line up on the equator right with the Mexican pyramids. The Aztec pyramids, you know what I mean? Well, they were Mexica, but the Spaniards named us Aztecs, you know? But we were the Mexica people, okay? So yeah, and I gotta talk in code because I don't want TikTok removing my videos, okay? Because that's what they do. They like to remove them. So look, basically the I gotta talk in code. That land where those imposters, the small HATSs, spell it out, you know, that's not their land. You know what I mean? So he's gonna gather us, and we're gonna be back in our land, you know. It's gonna be a beautiful thing, you know. And it's you know, so right now it's being cleansed. It's gonna get cleansed with fire, you know. So yeah, that's what's gonna happen, you know. So once we get our land back, it's a wrap, you know. The kingdom of heaven is gonna be established, you know, and it's gonna be here on earth, you know, and it's gonna be a beautiful thing because we're gonna have immortal bodies, you know. We're never gonna have to worry about passing away, you know. None of these nations are gonna be able to harm us anymore. We're not gonna worry about bills. We're not gonna be able to worry about paying this, paying that. You know, we're not gonna be on the bottom of the barrel anymore. It's gonna be a beautiful thing. Call Halayim Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. Can't wait for that day. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them. Salakia. and one king shall be king to them all. And who's going to be that king? The King David. King David. Because you got Yahweh, right? Then you got Yahweh Shai, and then you have King David, and then you got the government body, which is the 144,000, and the 1/3. And the 2/3 that you guys don't listen, you guys are gonna have to go through that lake of fire, and we call you guys nutsack Israelites, because when we have all these women, the concubines, and we're gonna have a lot of wives in the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna we're gonna bring you guys back to life. You guys that don't get it, you guys are called the nutsack Israelites. All right, let's go to the next one. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places where they have sinned, and I will cleanse them, so shall they be my people, and I will be their power. Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. You see that? Kal Halayim Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. So yeah, we're gonna be one nation. We're gonna be united, and we're gonna be on top. And all the other nations are gonna be under us.